Hi everybody, welcome to Therapy Corner. I'm Dr. Amelia Aldeo. I'm a Yale-trained clinical psychologist, and today we're talking about panic disorder. What are panic attacks? What do they look like? And what are the best evidence-based treatments for panic disorder? So what does a panic attack look like? Well, it's a very sudden reaction that is characterized by a lot of physical sensations. For example, feeling our heart racing or pounding, feeling shortness of breath, shaking, trembling, sweating, feeling dizzy, feeling like we are outside of our body, feeling as if things around us aren't real, feeling like we're losing control, perhaps even a heart attack, or perhaps that we are dying. So it's a very, very scary experience. So what is the difference between a panic attack and panic disorder? And it all has to do with the situation triggering the panic attack. So let me unpack that a little bit. If you're afraid of something, say you're afraid of spiders or snakes or social situations, and you come across those things or those situations, it makes sense that you may have a reaction that is similar to a panic attack. You might panic because you're confronted with things that make you afraid. In the context of panic disorder, people have panic attacks out of the blue, unexpectedly. So they might be going about their everyday lives and all of a sudden, boom, they have a panic attack. So they're very difficult to predict, almost impossible by definition. So this makes the whole experience a lot more anxiety provoking, because a person with panic disorder doesn't know when they're going to have the next panic attack. They become very anxious about this, and guess what? More anxiety makes them more stressed, and this increases the likelihood that they're going to have more and more panic attacks. And yet, they continue to have a really difficult time predicting how and when they're going to take place. So people with panic attacks develop a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear about having future panic attacks. And what do? They tend to avoid situations, they tend to avoid places that remind them or that were associated with previous panic attacks. And they keep doing this more and more, but it doesn't really quite work, right? Because even they avoid a lot of situations, the panic attacks are going to be coming out of the blue, so they're going to keep on happening. So what happens here is that people with panic disorder will continue avoiding more and more and more situations, to the point that at the very end of the continuum, at the very extreme presentation, they might become agoraphobic. They might not even leave the house because the outside world might be really, really scary for them. In other cases, people with panic disorder might go into those situations that make them anxious, but they might develop all kinds of rituals. So for example, they might have a lucky charm, they might bring anxiolytic medication, they might drink alcohol, so things along those lines. Now, this is the type of thing that sort of works okay in the short term. It might reduce anxiety today, but over time it results in greater anxiety because the person never really got a chance to actually confront their panic attack. So what exacerbates a panic attack? Well, basically people with panic disorder experience two types of processes. The first one is called interoceptive awareness. So what this means is that they're very sensitive to changes in their physiological sensations. So if their heart rate speeds up a little bit, or if they tense a little bit, they will notice right away. And the second piece is that they experience anxiety sensitivity. So they tend to interpret those physiological sensations in a negative way. Oh my gosh, what's happening? I'm tensing up, I'm losing control, I'm going to have a panic attack, and so on and so forth. So that type of thinking makes them feel more tense and more anxious, and then they notice more, and then they have more anxious thoughts. So here we have a vicious cycle that exacerbates the intensity of panic attacks, but also their frequency. So let me tell you about a study on panic disorder and control conducted many years ago, in fact 30 years ago. And basically the researchers brought participants in the lab and they had them breathe through a mask. And the mask had a higher proportion of carbon dioxide than air, out in nature. So basically this means that there was a smaller percentage of oxygen. And when there's this type of changes in the air, basically this is likely to trigger a panic sensation. And participants were assigned to two conditions. In one condition, they were told that they could actually control the concentration of carbon dioxide in the air. And in the other condition, they told that they weren't able to do so. And what the researchers found was that participants who believed they had control over the air had fewer symptoms of anxiety and fewer panic attacks than the participants who believed they didn't have any control. So from the CBT perspective, this is really important because the way we relate to our symptoms has a lot of impact on how many more symptoms we develop. So if we can believe we're in control, or even better, if we can let go of the need to want to be in control, we actually paradoxically gain a lot more control over our sensations, over our symptoms, and over our disorders. So in CBT, we do two things. We work on the cognitive piece, as always. So here we teach the person how to interpret situations differently, how to interpret their own physical sensations differently, in ways that are less dramatic, how to embrace uncertainty about the physical sensations that they have. They may mean something bad, or they might just be a simple physical sensation. And then on the behavioral piece, on the exposure part, what we do is we expose people to having panic attacks so that they can actually realize that even though they're super, super scary and incredibly uncomfortable, at the end of the day, they will be safe. Now, a very important thing here to keep in mind is that when we do exposure treatment for panic disorder, it's very important that we rule out that the person doesn't have an underlying medical condition, in particular, a cardiovascular condition. This is very rare, but every once in a while, somebody may be having a panic type presentation, but in reality, they might have a cardiovascular problem. So this brings us to the end of today's video on panic disorder. If you guys have any questions, please let me know by leaving a comment in the section below. And as always, if you suspect that you or someone you know has panic disorder or any other disorder, please consult with a mental health professional. If you enjoy the videos, please like them and subscribe to the channel, and please help us spread the word. Please tell people in your life about the channel, and you can do so in a number of ways. You can share links to the videos, or you can share my posts on social media. I'm Dr. Amelia Aldeo, both on Twitter and on Instagram. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.